Hi, my name is Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss how Laura Kuenssberg has highlighted her complete unsuitability for any form of journalism, never mind the incredibly overpaid journalism that we are stumping up for. She was tackling Labour over their definition of working people. Now, this is very topical, fair enough, but the basis of her question exposed the fact she had not even carried out the bare minimum of research for her interview with Labour's Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson. Frankly, I've seen better arguments in the Daily Express. But first, for daily political commentary, please click the subscribe button so you don't miss out. So I discuss my thoughts on the way Labour are using the term working people in order to identify those protected by tax rises the other day. You can check out that video if you're interested. I'm not going to repeat all that here, of course. But I do want to pick up Laura Kuenssberg, the most obviously Tory journalist at the BBC, over a question that she put to Labour's Bridget Phillipson. So she was talking specifically about the idea that we're expecting employers' national insurance contributions to go up this week when the budget is announced. Now, some people are arguing that because this can have a knock-on effect on future wages for workers, it could be argued it's an indirect tax on working people. Now, you know, you can argue the toss on that one. It is an argument some people are making, and there are sensible people arguing on both sides of that debate. It could certainly be argued that Labour's use of working people is a little bit clumsy because they're basing their definition on income, not actually employment status. And there are some workers who won't fit within this protection against tax rises. And there are some people who aren't workers who will. But Kuenssberg wasn't taking that line. Instead, she asked why Labour was saying that business owners were not working people. At which point you just have to say she obviously hadn't ever even done a quick Google search to make sure she had a vague idea of what the hell she was talking about. As I've already said, when Labour use the term working people, they're not trying to create a legal definition, and they're not referring to a legal definition. It's a term used specifically to indicate broadly the people they wish to protect from tax rises because they're already struggling enough. And it's based on income rather than where that income derives from. So interestingly, with Labour's definition, a consultant surgeon who is employed by the NHS, say, is not a working person, but a window cleaner who owns their own business could be. So in theory, some business owners will be working people for the purposes of this definition, as long as their business isn't too lucrative for them. And the term would also include some unemployed and some pensioners as well. But what the terms cannot mean is business owners in general. And why not? Because although Labour are not creating a legal definition here, there is a legal definition of worker. The latest definition was actually implemented by the Conservative government, not the one we've just had back in the 90s. The government website has this definition and says that it is generally a person who has a contract or other arrangement to do work or services personally for reward. It also refers to them as having an employer and specifically says that they can't be doing the work as part of their own limited company and that the employer can't just be a customer or a client. So basically, and in fact the legislation is clear on this, business owners are not workers. Unless, of course, you've got someone who does work for an employer during the day and then they happen to have their own little side business. You know, that happens. I've known people do that. You know, so maybe they work as like a teacher. I've known colleagues that have done this. So they work as a teacher during the day. Then they've maybe got some little cottage farm business. I knew someone who like farmed bees. They sold honey. And that's technically a business. It didn't make them a load of money. You know, but it's the job, it's the day-to-day job that makes them a worker, even though they might technically be a business owner themselves, just not earning big bucks. So however Labour choose to define working person, obviously it can't be a wider definition than that given in law, because that wouldn't make sense. So if a worker is specifically someone who is employed, then Labour's definition of a working person has to be sort of narrower than that. Make no sense to be wider. Kuenssberg really does offend me in the way that even some other, frankly, crap and obviously biased journalists don't. It's not just that she's really very aggressively prejudiced. even if you just view her show as sort of a Brassile style political spoof rather than serious journalism, she's just rubbish at it. I'm only disappointed that Phillipson didn't point out that Kuenssberg was seemingly ignorant about a Tory law. I really, honestly, do not know why ministers feel the need to treat her questions with respect when they open themselves up to obvious ridicule. They should remember she needs them more than they need her. Like, if government ministers weren't appearing on her show, she'd have no show. Now, I'm not suggesting they boycott it. I don't think ministers should do that. But if they made a point of making her look stupid every time she said something stupid, she'd be a lot less keen to get them back on. You know, there are some genuine arguments to be had about Labour's tax ring fence and on whom it applies exactly, because they're given a very broad definition. There are some pretty bad arguments flying around as well. Sorry, if you've got a business bringing in, for you personally, £100,000 a year, you're not a working person by any definition. In fact, culturally and legally in this country, a business owner has never been classed as a worker, ever. But only Kuenssberg seems to have made this look utterly ridiculous, this entire debate. Like I say, at no time in this country's history has business owner meant the same thing as worker. In fact, the term worker came about specifically to distinguish themselves from the people who employed them. So, of course, nobody would sensibly suggest that a business owner can be a working person. You know, absolutely offends me that this idiot is paid more than double the Prime Minister. You know, and given that she's a Tory and Tories believe that you're paid whatever you're worth, they're actually saying that this clumsy article is worth over twice as much as the person running the country. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can join for memberships. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.